For the 116th time, they gather again at the Citadel of American Racing at historic Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. They come on this first Saturday in May from every part of this Commonwealth, from every state in the Union, and nations around the world, here to celebrate America's most famous day at the races. It's the day they run the Kentucky Derby. And hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln. Welcome to Derby Day on ESPN. For the next 2 hours, we'll bring you live coverage of the 3 major stakes races before the Derby. That is the 8th race on the program, the 116th Run for the Roses, set for a post time this afternoon of 5:32 Eastern Time. Weather on Derby Day, a big factor, as well as the track condition. Let's give you an update on that right now. The track listed as muddy. That's how it opened the day after heavy rains in the Louisville area last night. Our temperature right now is 47 degrees. Remember, last year was the coldest Derby on record, post time 43 degrees. Cloudy, cold, winds 15 miles an hour, and a light drizzle. So the weather is certainly a factor here. By post time of the Kentucky Derby, they say maybe the best they'll get is a good track. It will be an off track, though, certainly. But it will have no bearing on the fact there's some great racing in store for us this afternoon here on ESPN. Let's take a look at our race day schedule for you here on Derby Day. The Churchill Downs Handicap now just about 5 minutes from post. The Brown and Williamson Handicap coming up. And then it'll be a historical moment here at Churchill Downs, the Capitol Holding Mile, the first grass race run on Kentucky Derby Day. And with us now is the president of Churchill Downs, Mr. Tom Meeker, for the official Derby Day grading wherever you're watching across the nation.
Well, it's a little cold today. I can't believe it. This is the second year that the sun hasn't shone bright on Kentucky, but despite that, everyone's temperature is up and they're ready for the big race, and we're having a great day on the track.
Well, Tom, I know we had a record day for the Oaks, and you said so far it looks like record numbers for the betting at least here.
Yeah, and I think our crowd is going to be good today, and the handle is good, and racing is good here, obviously, today. But yesterday we had a fantastic day with the heavy rains during the mid part of our racing program, and still we set a record in attendance and handle. So we're looking for a big day today.
Well, every time I've thought about this, once in your lifetime, promise yourself you've got to be at the Kentucky Derby on the first Saturday in May, once in your life. Now, when can you start planning for that?
Well, you better start planning next week and write us a letter about your ticket requirements, and we'll process them and let you know sometime towards November of next year.
Well, the weather aside, I'm still the greatest day. I can't think of any place I'd rather be in the first Saturday of May than here at Churchill Downs.
I'd like to be down on Millionaire's Row right now, a little warm, but we're delighted to have you here and covering the races again today.
Tom, thank you very much. That's me now, our racing experts. Tom Durkin will be calling the races for us, and Pete Axel, when the axe is ready to get to work, he's down in the paddock area below the Twin Spires with his Derby Day thoughts. Pete?
Chris, I can't help but think that it's almost a cliche to say all walks of life come to the Kentucky Derby. But this year, it seems to be relevant because consider Mr. Frisky, who I think will be the favorite. He's from Puerto Rico. He's the toast of San Juan, the people's horse. Only 3 races in this country, but he's run 16 overall and never been beaten. Whatever street he walks on, he's been the boss. Summer Squall, he's Wall Street. 28 investors. Big time, big prospectus, and now the horse, who's not a big horse, has to justify it. 36 Red, well, he comes from Linden Boulevard, right near Aqueduct, the street of broken dreams. Well, Nick Zito grew up there, I grew up near there, and, it just may be that a dream will come true. Finally, think about Silver Ending. It costs $1,500. That's not $15,000, $15 million, $1,500 to Ron and Debbie McAnally, and here he is with a shot. I mean, a lot of people in this race wouldn't even let a $1,500 horse move in on their block. But they're all here today, and it'll be interesting to see who owns the territory. Chris?
All right, Pete, now let's take you to the first of our 3 live races on Derby Day. Races we hope will give you a feel for how the track is playing leading up to the big race. Conditions now for the Churchill Downs Handicap, a race that dates back here to 1911. It's for thoroughbreds 4 and up. They go 7 furlongs. The first $50,000 at it. Last year, Ogden Phipps' Dancing Spree won it by 4 lengths. Well, now for a look at the big field for the Churchill Downs Handicap. Let's go to our other expert, the man who'll call the races for us, the voice of the Breeders' Cup for NBC, one of America's premier race callers, looking a little chilly on the roof at Churchill Downs, the spires behind him. Here's Tom Durkin.
On the roof at Churchill Downs, and I probably have the best seat in the house of all 100,000 people here. I'm 100 feet up above them all. 100,000 people, many of them craning their necks just to get a glimpse of one racehorse this afternoon. I have this little plastic tag that says I can stand right here and watch the race. There are many vigilant people that check this plastic tag before I can do that. With the cost of Kentucky Derby tickets, well, I could probably sell it and purchase a brand new mid-size automobile. But I'm not going to do it because I'm a little bit nuts about the Kentucky Derby, and I'd rather have the good view. They're going to the gate for the start of this Churchill Downs Handicap, and here's the field as we run them down. Bo Genius has won 13 races. Tiger's Finest, Lucky Peach, Traskwood will be along. Price today, Carborundum, he'll be coming from way off the pace. He'll be number 5 with Craig Perret. Bet the Pot and Red and White. Red and White will be looking for the early lead. Hot and Smoggy. Lucky So-and-So carries the colors of Calumet Farm. Mom's Ferrari, Learn by Heart, and D. Lance. He's like a bullet from the starting gate. Chris McCarron will be riding him today. He'll be riding Silver Ending from off the pace in the Derby a little bit later on. Chris, a good field among the 12 starters, over 130 victories.
All right, Tom, as you mentioned, the Churchill Downs Handicap dates back here to 1911 as they are behind the starting gate now. And we're going to get our selection from our handicapper, Pete Axel.
Chris, I like Mom's Ferrari in this race. An old campaigner, 6 years old. Those of us who live in Florida know that Glenn Wismer is a very sharp trainer. I think he's in form. I think he'll get the job done. I just wish another Florida horse named Mercedes was in the race, because wouldn't that be a great exacta, Ferrari and Mercedes? But I'll take one. Chris?
All right, Carborundum will be coming from off the pace. We saw him run second in this race last year. I'll be kind of looking for him again. Hermitage Farms representing Warner Jones, the chairman of the board here at Churchill Downs. And, of course, as we'll take a look now at our stakes and track record. The stakes record for this event, 1:21-2, olden times in 1964. And the track record, 1:21-1, Rafford Gray, 1985. Hope you folks will really pay close attention to this race, because those of you thinking about handicapping the big race can learn something from this. See how the track is playing. See where they want to try to be, and they position these thoroughbreds as the riders make their moves. Of course, you look at speed horses. Will they hold up? Will those be able to come from behind? A lot of that will figure in the Derby Day handicapping as we get closer to the big race. Earlier in the day, by the way, the race track opened with the first race at 11 a.m. and Kentucky Jazz from D. Wayne Locus' stable won by 11 lengths. They said now he's headed for the Preakness. An update there. Let's go now to Tom Durkin as they're loading up for this Churchill Downs Handicap, your first live race here on Derby Day on ESPN.
The starter here is J.T. Wagner. He is the quickest starter in the country. Once they put that last horse in the gate, in this case it will be D. Lance, they'll put the last horse in the gate. He doesn't allow him any time to dilly-dally. Before you can say they're off, they're off. Now we have one more or two more behind the gate, Learn by Heart, and D. Lance is a horse that figures to jump right out of the starting gate. He is a horse with brilliant early speed. And I think there's a little difficulty there with Learn by Heart. Everybody seems to be looking behind the starting gate. They are blocking my view of it. I can see D. Lance is doing quite well, but quite frankly, I'm unable to see what's going on with Learn by Heart behind the starting gate. He seems to have the attention of everybody in the gate. They're craning their necks backwards to look at him, and D. Lance is just in behind the starting gate. Roberto Rivera Jr., the jockey on Learn by Heart, he's in the starting gate now, and D. Lance will be in the gate and will be ready for a start momentarily. They are in the gate, and they are off. D. Lance breaks alertly. Traskwood was off a bit slow, and Tiger's Finest is coming up on the inside, and Red and White has asked for a run early. Down inside, Bo Genius is right there racing in fourth as they leave the chute and head up the main track. On the outside, it's Hot and Smoggy now is running along in fifth position, 2.5 lengths. Learn by Heart is settled nicely in sixth. Bet the Pot is asked for a run. He's seventh on the inside. Then another 2 lengths back to Mom's Ferrari's running along in eighth. Lucky Peach is ninth toward the inside. Lucky So-and-So. Traskwood has one horse beaten, and that is the late-running Carborundum, who's 11 lengths off the lead as they pass the half-mile pole. And Red and White has battled his way out to the lead. Now it's Red and White in front. D. Lance is chasing him on the outside second. Tiger's Finest is trying to keep up in third position now. Mom's Ferrari is putting in a strong run, and on the outside, Learn by Heart is also looming boldly as they come toward the top of the stretch. and then it's Bo Genius toward the inside. Lucky Pot is in behind a wall of horses. Carborundum is coming with a sweeping move now on the outside as the field comes down the stretch, and on the outside, Learn by Heart now forges to the front as they come down to the final furlong. Red and White cannot stay with them. Montfleur is there. Trustwood comes bursting through in between horses. Bo Genius is there toward the rail, 100 yards from home. Learn by Heart, all out. Trustwood pinched in between horses. Bo Genius toward the rail. Bo Genius nailing it in the last ride there. Bo Genius with Ricardo Lopez today. This was a horse that Bill Shoemaker rode his last ride at Gulfstream Park and was a winner, and he won it in similar fashion, coming through in the last few strides to win it. We do have a photo finish here, so hold all tickets. The three-quarter mark, 10-3, pretty quick. 7 panels in 123-1. Chris?
Well, another one of those horses that did very well early on down at Gulfstream Park, won the Olympic Handicap, and Bo Genius has come on off that victory. His first victory since then, after not doing well at the fairgrounds or at Keeneland, really, has come on now to be the unofficial winner, the Churchill Downs Handicap. You see him coming up to get it on the rail.
Call now and bring home a long shot. Let Budweiser, Racing Across America's experts, Chris Lincoln and Pete Axtell, give you the insights you need to cash the same kind of long shot payoffs you've seen on the award-winning ESPN series. Winners like Cheapskate, $146, Chief Stewart, $73, and 4-Star Dave, $45. How to pick a long shot. A 55-minute home videotape can help bring some of these big long shot payoffs home for you. Call today, 1-800-551-8800.
There is a world-class thoroughbred facility nestled on 1,500 acres of rolling hills and lush meadows. A special place where excellence makes its home. Excellence in breeding, training, in facilities, and in people. This world-class thoroughbred facility is the Cardiff Stud Farms of California.
You know, Thrifty Car Rental has variety for everyone.
I can rent a new car from Thrifty and save money, money, money. Oh, yeah.
Enjoy luxury and savings. Rent a Chrysler New York or Landau with unlimited mileage. Just $37.95 a day. 48-hour advance reservation required.
Thrifty, a lot of car rental companies for incredibly little. Call 1-800-for-cars and away you go.
Back of a back. Can't be beat with baseball. 4 nights a week. Under the light. ESPN baseball tonight. Tuesday, Friday, doubleheader. Wednesday. It's nothing better. Catch it Sunday. Watch the fun. Sunday night.
The Yankees take on the Angels on Sunday Night Baseball, live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Baseball tonight.
Little more than 2.5 hours from now, that'll be the center of all the attention. The winner's circle at Churchill Downs as some light, cold rain is starting to fall. Let's give you the unofficial rundown of the Churchill Downs Handicap. Bo Genius coming in on the rail for you handicappers, the inside. Rail holding up very well, winning at 123-1. Trastwood second, Learn by Heart third. Again, that's still unofficial. Let's go down now as you see the winner's circle presentation with Bo Genius, Ricardo Lopez unmounting there. We'll go down now to the paddock area to Pete Axtell with a celebrity from another part of the sports world.
Thank you, Chris. You mentioned the cold drizzle here, and one man who is used to that from all the years and all the great championships and victories in Soldier Field, Jim McMahon. We know there's a lot of people at this racetrack probably looking for jobs, but we hardly expected you to be one of them.
Well, right now, that's I'm in the process of doing. Luckily, I was able to come down here and enjoy myself for today and worry about that other stuff down the road.
Are you determined to play more, or would you be happy to settle into retirement?
No, I feel real good. You know, my body feels good. I'd like to play another 5 or 6 years, and you know, I'll just have to wait and see if the owners want somebody to to be nice to the press if they want to win football games.
Well, I haven't found any problem with you, the press. You're just about too nice with the coaches.
No, I haven't had any problem with the coaches. I think Mike and I got along at times. Dan and I got along real well. I think it's more of a media thing that happened to me down in San Diego, and I think that's just too bad.
Well, we talk in this business about the risks that jockeys have to take and the amount of spills and some people think they're overpaid, but they really are risking their lives on horses. You, of course, were known for, you would take any chance. You would run through a wall to get a first down. Do you regret that now? Do you look back and say maybe your shoulders, your knees, anything would be in better shape if you'd been more cautious?
No, I don't think so. One thing, jockeys get to ride on top of the horse. Most of the time, somebody's on top of me, so there's a little difference there. But I don't regret anything. I only know how to play the game one way, and that's hard. And you know, I play as hard as I can when I'm on the field.
Well, I hope we both play hard and get some winners today. Thank you for dropping by, Jim. Back to you, Chris.
All right, thank you very much, Axe. A lot of celebrities in the sports world here. Saw Boomer Esiason, the Cincinnati Bengals. A lot of the world champions San Francisco 49ers are also on hand, too. Let's give you now some of the official prices for the Churchill Downs Handicap. Bo Genius winning at $8.60, $5.80, and $5, $1.23 and 1 the time there. Traskwood finishing second. Look at the nice price for Traskwood from Lob Lolly Stable. And Learn by Heart, who had the lead in the stretch, finishing third in that. That's the official results, the Churchill Downs Handicap. We'll take a closer look at it now. Tom Durkin can tell you how this might affect the Derby to be run later. Some strategy here. Tom?
Well, red and white battle his way through some really swift fractions. 22 flat, 45 and 1, 3/4 and 10 and 3. He's in front at this point. The eventual winner, Bo Genius, is on the rail. And on the outside of red and white comes Learn by Heart, who will reach the lead by the time they reach the 8th pole. In behind that group is Angel Cordero, driving hard now with Traskwood. He'll burst through in between horses. Going to be a 3-horse race down to the wire from here as Learn by Heart edges now to the lead, but will eventually lose it to Bo Genius, who comes driving through on the inside, and Cordero in between horses with Traskwood. A 3-horse blanket finish here, and the nod goes to Bo Genius. I wouldn't make any rash judgments about how this track is playing off that race. The fractions were quick, and the early pace faded, which figures when they go 22 flat for the opening quarter. Chris?
1:23 and 1 again. The time for 7 furlongs. The racetrack remains muddy here at Churchill Downs. When we come back, as you look at Millionaire's Row here at the Downs, we'll take a closer look at the field for the Kentucky Derby.
Cadillac has long been committed to automotive safety. And now, a new Cadillac is an even safer investment. With a $2,000 cash bonus on Seville and Eldorado. And a $1,500 bonus on Fleetwood, DeVille, and Brome. Engineered to provide the greatest comfort of all, peace of mind. With a $2,000 bonus, it's one of the safer investments you can make.
Has this ever happened to you? Don't tear that shirt into dust rags. Introducing DD7 Super All-Purpose Stain Remover. Remove that stain without a trace. Dilute and soak fabrics for a like-new whiteness. Imagine this is your laundry and a red sock turns everything pink. Or ink leaks from a pen. Iodine. Add DD7 to the final rinse and all is restored. Order DD7 today on this special TV offer for $14.95. Or save $10 and order 2 for $19.95. Now you see it, now you don't. Now call.
According to the U.S. Coast Guard, recreational boaters dump more than a pound of trash in the water every time he or she goes out. Why? Because it's easier than bringing it back to shore. Hi, I'm Gary Jobson, ESPN sailing analyst. Make it your boat policy to bring your trash back to shore. It's better for you and the environment. Remember, you can make a world of difference.
Back on Derby Day at Churchill Downs, Whoopi Goldberg, the famed comedian, is here enjoying Derby Day. And Tom Durkin has joined us up here now on the roof as we get a chance to talk about this Kentucky Derby field. Tom, it just boggles your mind. I think these 3-year-olds are starting this 87 foal crop, more than 50,600 of them. Then more than 340 were nominated for the Triple Crown this year. And now, after 4 months of training, of racing, of heartbreak, 15 are all that remain to run for the Roses. They're one chance in a lifetime, America's most famous race.
It is America's most famous race and one of America's best-known sporting events, but it certainly is the most colorful of all American sporting events. Some great stories attached to the Kentucky Derby every year. This year is no different. We have a wonder horse from Puerto Rico, a horse that has 28 owners, a horse that hasn't even won a race. But I think my favorite story about the Kentucky Derby is how the race got its name. Way back in England in 1780, 2 members of the aristocracy decided that it was time for a springtime race for 3-year-olds, and they were going to name the race after themselves. But they couldn't decide who to name it after. So the Earl of Derby and Sir Charles Bunbury flipped a coin. And if it had been heads instead of tails, today we'd be looking at the 116th running of the Kentucky Bunbury.
Well, now, we say Derby. Over there, they'll say Derby.
Yes, over there it is pronounced Derby. A derby is something that a gentleman might wear on his head. I'm not exactly sure where a person would wear a Bunbury, however.
Well, let's take a look at the official conditions of the 116th running of, not the Bunbury, but the Kentucky Derby. It is Grade 1, $350,000 added with 15 starters, 10,000 to enter, 10,000 to start, added to the purse. It'll gross $756,000. The winner, $581,000. But money is not what this is about. A distance is 1.25 miles, further than any of these 3-year-old colts have ever been asked to run before. They'll carry the Derby weight of 126 pounds, more weight than most of them have ever had to accept. And Tom, with all this information, let's look at the field now. Those that have a chance to make a dream come true today with current odds here at Churchill Downs. Here's the field for the Derby.
Trainer Bobby Frankel sends out a pair. Pendleton Ridge has never won a race, but it has happened before in the Kentucky Derby. 3 maidens have won the Run for the Roses. The last time it happened, though, was 60 years ago. Burnt Hill's a good second in the Wood Memorial. And Wayne Lucas has sent out 15 horses over the years in the Kentucky Derby. He's won it once with winning colors, and he's got a trio today, safety and numbers. Real Cash, Land Runch with Cordero, who's looking for his 4th Derby win, and Power Lunch, generally regarded as the weakest of the 3. Killer Diller is son of 81 winner Pleasant Colony. Video Ranger was soundly defeated by undefeated Mr. Frisky. No horse has ever come to the Kentucky Derby with such an imposing record, 16 for 16. And at number 6 in the race will be Fighting Fantasy, who just won a race up at Sportsman's Park in Chicago. Shane Sellers, a top jock there at Sportsman's in his first Kentucky Derby appearance. Unbridled was the winner of the Florida Derby. Big workouts this week. Pleasant Tap, a long shot. Silver Ending, the bargain horse that just won the $500,000 Arkansas Derby. And completing the field are these. 36 Red, the winner of the Wood Memorial. A gutsy New Yorker, as his trainer Nick Zito calls him. Summer Squall, nearly perfect. 7 for 8 victories. Dr. Bobbier might be the longest price on the board by the time it's all over. And Country Day was scratched. He bruised his foot and will not contest the distance. No fillies in this year's race, Chris.
15 for the Derby, and those are not spring flowers sprouting there. Those are umbrellas in the rain starting to fall here at Churchill Downs on Derby Day as we go to the paddock area again and Pete Axtell.
Chris, I don't care about these umbrellas. You don't need them when you grew up at Aqueduct. I grew up there. I used to take guys home when I was dead broke and try and get $5 from them after they paid the toll so I could eat, but they never had the $5 either. I'm still waiting for some of them to pay me. One person who I'm not waiting to pay me, but an old Aqueduct veteran, a New Yorker to the core, and a pal of mine, Nick Zito, and he's here with a terrific shot with 36 Red.
Yeah, he just steadily progressed, Pete, and you know, we always talk about the swell. You know, you had Housebuster and Summer Squall, and he just kept getting better and better. But when he broke his maiden February 6th, he seemed to change around the barn. You know, winning is contagious, and that was a big factor with him. And he, after that day, you know, the excise girl, Jody, said, hey, this guy thinks he could beat anybody. And, you know, so far, he's taken that path, and I just ask for, you know, one more time.
Give a New Yorker's guide to Louisville, your impressions of the town.
It's wonderful. You can't believe it. It's like, I'll tell you, it's just like a little town in New York, because you go across the street to Wagner's drugstore, and you have your lunch there, and everybody goes, hey, Nick, how you doing? You know, you got a good shot, this and that. Then you walk across the street, you get a haircut in Maryland, sign this, sign that, and people are just normal. And They said, could you get my son a hat? And I said, how old's your son? 44. You know, and they're cooking for him, and they're cooking, cleaning for him, and things like that. And you can't believe the feeling you get in Louisville. It's a great, believe me, it's the greatest feeling in the world. All I can say is I wish the people that, have been on a racetrack as long as I have, even longer, get a shot, because it's the big show, Pete. If you're a ball player, the minor leaguers always talk about going to the show. Well, we're at the show. It's beyond belief.
It is a great show, and, when I listen to Nick long enough, I start talking like him. But what I'd like to say is, when people come up to you, these idiots that say, all I know is horses don't bet on people, just respond, they would if they knew how much fun it is. Back to you, Chris.
All right, thank you, Axe. And I'm standing now with the Grand Marshal of the Kentucky Derby Festival Parade from California without all the nice weather, the great actor John Forsythe. John, happy Derby Day.
Thank you, Chris. The warmth of the greeting that I've gotten here makes up for this kind of weather, though. But I must say, it's pretty cruel to bring a fellow from California who doesn't have any blood out in this kind of cold.
Tell us a bit about your past Derby Day experiences.
Well, this is my third Derby, Chris. I've been here once in 1976, when Bold Forbes won. And then I was here in 1978 with that great rivalry between Affirmed and Alydar. And here I am in 1990, and you know what I'm looking for. I'm looking to make it a triple, to close the circle.
Well, with Laz Barrera, of course, training Mr. Frisky, and I know how you feel about Laz Barrera. Well, we also talked to Laz Barrera about John Forsythe and what John Forsythe means to him today.
Good luck, John. My name is John Forsythe. John Forsythe was with me with a friend, with me before. And when I retired, a friend, John Forsythe, got an open heart surgery, and he was watching the race in the hospital. And I said, I dedicated the race to him and said, John, it's the medicine you need. After this race, you're going to go back home jumping and kicking, look like a 2-year-old. And he will, because a friend beat him a spectacular beat in the Gold Cup. And me and him been very close friends for a long time, and I love John. John is a wonderful man, one of the nicest men I've ever met.
Says John Forsythe is one of the nicest men he's ever met. I sort of translated for you. Can you understand, Laz?
No, Charlie Whittingham, I think, had the definitive phrase about him. Charlie says he doesn't know whether he speaks Spanish with an English accent or English with a Spanish accent.
Well, that's our Hall of Fame trainer, Laz Barrera. You're working very closely with one of the great Hall of Fame rider, Bill Schubeck, and a special show coming up on ESPN.
Yes, well, Bill and I have been friends for a long time, too. A really terrific man. I decided that what I wanted to do as a tribute to him was to do a film that would honor him for all his achievements. And this is, I think, a very special film, and I hope you like it, Chris, because it's got two very strong and very dramatic incidents in his life. Two injuries that almost cost him his life, and also his career as well.
Nice Guys finish first, coming up exclusively on ESPN May 26th. Hope you'll watch it. And this has been my favorite part of the show for my mother in Maine. She loves John Forsythe. John, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Chris.
We'll be back with more on Derby Day on ESPN.
Fun and games in ancient Rome. Years later, it's still fun and games. And you're in fighting. Caesar's Palace. Relive the legend.
Come be a part of the tradition of excellence at Frank's Farms, Southland Division in Ocala, Florida. Frank's Farms makes available to the breeder with any budget the sire lines of Northern Dancer, Raise a Native, Nijinsky 2, Exclusive Native, Sovereign Dancer, and Mr. Prospector. The Southland Division's 1,000-acre farm features a complete facility for breeding, boarding, breaking, and training. Be a part of the tradition of one of America's leading thoroughbred owners, the multiple Eclipse Award-winning Frank's Farms, Southland Division in Ocala, Florida.
At Bic, we sympathize with the ways that you pull and stretch your face in search of a better shave. That's why we've created the Bic Metal Shaver. The patented Bic Metal stretches and smooths your skin thanks to its unique metal guard bar, so the shaver glides closely and comfortably. So instead of stretching, Start reaching for a big metal shaver. It stretches your skin for a better shave. And that's no stretch.
This year, millions of people will use one car wax, Turtle Wax, the world's best-seller Turtle Wax. Revitalizing, age-defying, bring the shine back Turtle Wax. Safe for new cars, Turtle Wax. Hard shell finish Turtle Wax. None other than the easier than ever, long-lasting Turtle Wax. This is Turtle Wax. And that says it all.
It's the first Saturday in May, and we're in Louisville, Kentucky for the Kentucky Derby. It's Derby Day, a day that dreams can come true for a horse owner, the day he can win the Kentucky Derby. But you don't really have to be as rich as Donald Trump to afford a horse to run in the Kentucky Derby, although it does really help to have a few $1 million in your pocket to buy some yearlings with. But with the Kentucky Derby, there have been some great bargain investments. Investments that would even make the Donald green with envy. Back in 1970, let's take a look at Dust Commander. This horse, with Mike Manganello aboard, a surprise winner in the Kentucky Derby, an Illinois bred that was purchased for $6,500. And the next year, the sensation from Venezuela, Canonero II, sold as a yearling at Keeneland for $1,200. And then their spectacular bid, a steel gray when he was a 3-year-old and won the Kentucky Derby, $2.7 million. And Seattle Slew, perhaps the biggest investment of the biggest surprise of them all, $17,500 investment. And today he's worth in excess of $100 million. Not only a good investment as a racehorse, but probably one of the best investments of all time. Well, each year there seems to be a bargain horse in the Kentucky Derby, and this year is no exception. It's the story of a dream that could come true for an owner, and that dream began in the sale ring at Keeneland Racecourse.
17, 15 here, but it gets 17, but it gets 1,500 a buyer, but it gets right on. 15 here, but it gets 1,709 in back, 1,500.
The sale took 48 seconds. The price, $1,500. The colt, hip number 644, would get the name Silver Ending and was on his way to becoming one of the all-time bargain stories in the history of the Kentucky Derby. Purchased by trainer Ron McAnally, the same Ron McAnally who a few years ago trained another bargain horse named John Henry. John Henry originally sold at Keeneland for $1,100 and would end his racing career as the sport's all-time leading money earner, over $6.5 million. This August, McAnally and John Henry will both be inducted into racing's Hall of Fame.
By having a horse with the capability of John Henry, I think has really put us there. And I can't praise this horse enough. I see him every time I'm here in Kentucky. I think he's just one special individual in my life.
With the late addition of jockey Chris McCarron, that John Henry team has been reunited here for the Derby. McCarron, who entered the Hall of Fame last year, has never ridden Silver Ending, but that's of no concern to McAnally.
He had never ridden John Henry before either when he rode him at Hollywood Park that year, and he beat the Wonder going away. He had never ridden Pay the Butler in Japan. He won the Japan Cup first time out just by looking at the films of the race. We gave him the films of Silver Ending races, and he made it a special point to come by our barn and tell us how impressed he was with them.
And this son of Silver Hawk with the long, flowing silver tail has impressed his trainer with some of the same traits he saw in his two-time Horse of the Year, the legendary John Henry.
He has that willingness and desire as John Henry did. He doesn't need a perfect place to come through on the inside and the rail, the outside between horses. He sees it and he goes for it. If he should happen to get stopped in the race, which he might, with that many horses, I think he's agile enough to overcome it. Some of the other long striding horses, it's a little more difficult. But I'm getting more and more confident as the time goes on.
And no matter what happens in this afternoon's 116th Kentucky Derby, this $1,500 sales bargain, now a multiple graded stakes winner, earner of almost $639,000, has already been a rewarding experience for Ron and the owners, his wife Deborah, and longtime friend Angelo Costanza.
It's really gratifying for me, you know, having had to pick out the horse. And of course, my wife used to raise Cain with me for spending so much time at the horse sales and never buying anything, and never spending enough time with her. Well, I think it finally paid off after all these years, Chris.
Well, paid off it has, and I know with all the Derby parties around the nation, none, of course, are having more fun probably than those on First Avenue in Arcadia, California. The Cheyenne Supper Club, owned by Angelo Costanza, co-owner of Silver Ending, having a big party down there, and it could get a lot bigger. Let's go down now to Pete Axel.
Thank you, Chris. Here with Carl Navsker, we're trying to get other sports in here, football, rodeo, and so forth. And speaking of rodeo, coincidentally, Carl Navsker, trainer of Unbridled, was a bull rider. Now, hip number 161, the toughest bull ever. Talk about him.
161 was the Butler & Sons bull, and never was ridden as far as I know. He was a top bull. But he liked people. He was a real friendly bull, too.
Well, when you go up against a bull like that, and then you compare it with going up against the pressure today, compare it.
It's exactly the same. It's a challenge of the victory. I would say today was greater on you for one reason. You know, Miss Ginner is 53 years old. She's here. If I ever win a Derby in my life, I hope it's this one.
Well, you've already got the Florida Derby home.
The Florida Derby's home, but I mean the Kentucky Derby. If we ever win a Kentucky Derby, it'd be great.
Here's the Florida Derby. Let's look at Unbridled in the Fountain of Youth preceding the Florida Derby. Had some traffic problems, but here he really cuts loose turning for home.
I'm looking for the same kind of move on the horse today. I really think he will fire again like he did right here. He gets a place, he opens the hole, and then Jose Santos came in on Slavic to try to pin him. He burst on out there and made a nice move. He pulled away with Pat, and I think we'll see the same run today. I hope we do if the seam opens.
Of course, the question remains about the Florida Derby, 152. Very slow time for a horse coming up to a race like this. We all know the Gulfstream track was erratic this winter and generally very slow, but can you really make a case for a horse that needed 152 to go mile an 8?
No, just the last quarter, if you looked at it, was decent. But the main thing is 2 turns on Gulfstream this year was slow everywhere. And when you put the numbers together, the other 1 mile and 8, it was a nice race.
You're not known to be media shy. You having any fun this week?
I'm having a great time, Pete. I'm having a great time.
Thanks, Carl. Back to you, Chris.
All right, all the best to Carl Navsker, the former rodeo bull rider. I was trying to think when I've talked to a more confident trainer before the Derby than I remembered. Charlie Whittingham last year. Be right back.
It's a game like no other. It's Mickey and Willie. It's Daffy, Dizzy, and Doc. It's 3 and 2, and it's him against you. It's the one and only. It's baseball. And now you can enjoy all the excitement of your favorite game in an exceptional new library of fine books, World of Baseball. This magnificent series touches all the bases, from the early days to your latest heroes, with memorable photography, fascinating stat graphics, and colorful writing that captures the game as never before. Call this number now and start out right at home with a free 10-day preview of The Sluggers, a power-packed volume that takes a great look at the big hitters through the ages. If you don't agree that it's a sure hit, simply return it and pay nothing. There's no risk. Keep it and it's yours for the low introductory price of only $14.95. Other valuable editions will follow every other month. Cancel at any time. Satisfaction guaranteed. Call the number on your screen now and start your free preview of The Sluggers, the first edition of the finest baseball library ever published.
Early bird nominations for the Grade 1 $1 million Super Derby 11 close May 27th. Louisiana Downs' premier event for 3-year-olds at 1.25 miles on the main track was an integral part of Sunday Silence's Horse of the Year coronation. Join the list of great sophomores that have won this September Classic. Nominate now. Early bird nominations close May 27th for the Grade 1 $1 million Super Derby to be run Sunday, September 23rd at Louisiana Downs.
For more than 4 decades, the Keeneland Thoroughbred Sales have produced a parade of classic winners, including 39 American champions. Horses purchased at Keeneland have won all of the classic races worldwide and the richest prizes in thoroughbred racing. 1988 champions Winning Colors, Risen Star, and Ali Sheba all were bought at the Keeneland Sales in Lexington, Kentucky.
source of the classic horse.
Live, high-speed excitement that drives fans wild. The Indy 500 time trial. 97 entries, battling for 33 starting positions. And only speed will set them apart.
And it's a new track record.
The thrills of Indy, Sunday, May 13th, live on ESPN.
Shot of the cupola in the infield, the windows area here at Churchill Downs, and the light rain has subsided a little bit right now as we're ready to push on to our next live race for you here on ESPN's Derby Day coverage. It's the Brown and Williamson, and for the first time this year it has received graded status. Let's take a look at a Grade 3 event, $50,000 added for fillies and mares 4 and up at 7 furlongs, and Tom Durkin has the field.
Banbury Fair number 1, Jose Santos was supposed to ride. He was also supposed to ride Country Day in the Kentucky Derby. Country Day scratch. Jose Santos took off this horse, and Keith Allen is subbing. And Lady Houlihan will be number 2, 10-1. Motion in Lemonade with Randy Romero riding. Coax Chelsea, Mike Smith, who will ride 36 Red a little bit later on today, is aboard her. Fit for a Queen, Craig Perrette, who will be riding Unbridled. Lost Low, to 5-year-old mare, making only her 8th career start. She's won her last 3. Medicine Woman, chased sprint champion, safely kept in her last race, and she'll be the favorite here. Hasty Pasty, a personal favorite of mine, and Gallant Rider completes this field with a local jockey, Steve Bass, who was born right here in Louisville, Kentucky. Chris?
The dark storm cloud still over Churchill Downs here. Temperatures in the 40s. Wind is picking up a bit, but at least the rain has subsided, it seems like, for right now. We're looking for a warmer spot, but there's still with people that have their minds only on this Kentucky Derby Day. We're going to go now to Caesars Palace, Las Vegas. Ralph Sirocco standing by outside there.
As you can see, it is sunny. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous here in Las Vegas for Derby Day, and the only water drops that are falling to the ground are coming from the famous fountains out in front of Caesars Palace, where people are filing in right now for the 116th running of the most famous horse race in America, as the Sport of Kings once again takes center stage. And as we celebrate the Kentucky Derby, the focus on thoroughbred racing is looking forward to growth and expansion and change with the help of technology and the cooperation of industry regulators. Here in Nevada, Nevada Race Books are embarking in a pari-mutuel partnership with racetracks, and Caesars Palace is sponsoring a big race to be seen later on this year. Now standing by inside is the president of Caesars Palace, Dan Reichart.
Thank you, Ralph. Ralph, it is indeed a pleasure to welcome you and thousands of our racing fans to Caesars Palace and our racing sportsbook. As you can see, we have a long-standing commitment, given the improvements we've made to our book, to racing. It is a great day to be here with you on what has to be racing's most important day. Caesars Palace commitment to racing is shown not only in our book, but our commitment to the Caesars International Handicap, which will be run in Atlantic City on July 21st. This race has a guaranteed purse of $500,000 and has horses nominated belonging to Queen Elizabeth II and the Aga Khan. We hope that many of our friends will join us for that race. But now let's go back to what has to be the most important day in racing, the Kentucky Derby. Ralph will join us later on in the show, and now I'd like to give it back to Chris Lincoln, our good friend who is in Kentucky.
Well, thank you, Mr. Reichert. From Caesars Palace, Las Vegas, and we'll be back later in the show to check in with them and see how the action's going there. And some of the folks waiting for the fillies and mares have arrived. The jockey's about to come out here. We're a little less than 14 minutes to post for the Brown and Williamson race. Well, race fans get to bet the Derby in many ways in this country. Off-track betting, simulcasting at racetracks, sports books like Caesars, but across the pond they have a very different way of handling wagers on sporting events. Here's our merry old traveler, Tom Durkin, in England.
Take a walk through any neighborhood in the United Kingdom and you'll find those shops and establishments that service the British way of life. You'll find your baker, and you'll find your butcher. You'll find a pub. You'll probably find another pub. Just like any American city, with one exception. You'll find your local turf accountant, your bookmaker.
Legal betting shops are located everywhere in the British Isles. They're open from 10 in the morning until 6 at night, taking satellite feeds from a number of racetracks and dog tracks all across Great Britain. The shops are typically small storefront affairs, functional, clean, and friendly spots, where just a short walk from home, you can study the entries and place your bets. Or even if you stay at home, you can ring up your bookmaker and place a bet over the phone, if your credit's good. The betting shops, however, are a bit different from the on-track bookmakers.
who are in the betting ring every day, laying their own odds and their own money in a supreme example of entrepreneurship and laissez-faire capitalism. And how about this, horse players? There is no pari-mutuel takeout. The off-track betting parlors also have very little government interference, although there is a relatively modest 10% fee. Now let's meet our friendly neighborhood bookie, Derek Hambling, whose business card says turf accountant, but who actually takes bets on a lot of novel things.
Well, we take bets on all manner of things, mostly sporting events, obviously, but things like Eurovision Song Contest and the Miss World, but they tend to be just single bets. But when I talk about novelty bets, I'm talking about multiple bets where the customer makes 4, 5, maybe 6 selections in different races and then has multiplied odds on trebles 4 times, 5 times, accumulators, etc.
Ah, yes, a parlay. But tell us, besides beauty contests, do you take action on other American sports?
Yes, we do. Predominantly on the American football, but obviously boxing is quite popular. But anything really that is shown on British television would become a very promising betting medium here.
Anything? Are you trying to tell us that you bookmakers even take bets on things like snooker?
Yes, we do. Yes, snooker is very, very popular, as to his bowls, because that gets good TV coverage. You're not familiar with bowls? No?
No, I'm not familiar with bowls, and I don't believe I'd even bet on bowls if I was familiar with bowls. But surprisingly, Chris, they're not taking any bets on the Kentucky Derby this year. They're not too familiar with some of the horses running, no English horses in this year's Derby.
Bowls, huh?
Bowls, yes.
Well, you get ready.
Snooker.
That's right. Tom's going to be calling our Brown and Williamson, our next live race for you. And then when we come back, Mr. Durkin will give you a look at how he thinks this Kentucky Derby 116 will be run.
Another Breeders' Cup Championship moment. As the November daylight faded at historic Churchill Downs, Ali Sheba sought to capture the $3 million Breeders' Cup Classic and become the richest thoroughbred in racing history.
Ali Sheba with a short lead. He's unyielding, seeking to go. A final move as they come to the wire. And Ali Sheba, America's horse, has done it.
For Horse of the Year, Ali Sheba, this was his Breeders' Cup Championship moment.
Wimbledon Farms Relaunch, the leading sire of stakes winners for 1989. Relaunch has sired 75% winners, 27% stakes horses, 19% stakes winners, and earners of over $14 million. Relaunch at Wimbledon Farm.
Did you ever notice what you get first when you rent a car at most airports? A bus. So why not go where you can rent a new car and save money? Take the bus to Thrifty Car Rental.
Enjoy luxury and savings. Rent a Chrysler New Yorker Landau with unlimited mileage. Just $37.95 a day. 48-hour advance reservation required.
Thrifty, a lot of car rental companies. For incredibly little. Call 1-800-for-cars. Who's he doing now?
Desert Wine, a solid Grade 1 stakes performer. At 2, the Hollywood Juvenile. At 3, runner-up in the Kentucky Derby and Preakness. At 4, the Hollywood Gold Cup win over John Henry. Desert Wine, a leading son of Damascus at Cardiff Stud Farms, California.
Oh. They say a little suffering is good for the soul. I'm not so sure about that. They also say the Lord helps those who help themselves. That's why the church chose a Ford tractor. Ford compact diesel tractor. Because I say a little comfort is good for the soul, too.
See the complete line of comfortable ones at your Ford New Holland dealer.
Well, I hope your Derby Day party is warming up, because it certainly isn't here at Churchill Downs. Look at those big gray storm clouds gathering. They are saying, yes, we may have rain coming. And certainly it is a windy day as well up here on top of the spires, the trees blowing at 15, 20 miles an hour. We have a muddy racetrack. They're hoping to upgrade it to good. That does not look like a very good chance right now. Well, this Kentucky Derby is something to be a fascinating Derby strategy-wise, as always. You have a big field and a lot of great horses here. Well, Tom Durkin has really studied this field and wants to give you an idea of what you should look for and how the race will be run, how he thinks it might be setting up for you.
The first quarter of the Kentucky Derby is straight all the way and invariably fast.
An opening quarter of 23 seconds or less, given the fast track, is not unusual. Mr. Frisky, Real Cash, Fighting Fantasy, 36 Red, and Burnt Hills are all horses who run fast and run early. Any of them are capable of getting the lead, but don't necessarily need to be there. At this point, look for Summer Squall to rate, as Pat Day has been teaching him all spring. The late runners will settle and perhaps angle inside, nearing the first turn. I think the key moment to this race will be on the first turn. We can expect a quick first quarter, like Winning Colors did in 23 flat with Gary Stevens in 1988. But on that first turn, Pat Day backed off with 49er. Jockeys on the speed will have a choice at this point, to continue on with the hot pace or to back off. They backed off Winning Colors, and her opening half went in 46-4. If the half goes in 46 seconds or less today, those horses on or close to the lead probably won't be around at the finish. As they enter the backstretch, the quality speed horses like Mr. Frisky and 36 Red will still be there. Summer Squall with Pat Day will try to position close to the leaders and in good striking position, probably on the outside. So too with Land Rush heading for the far turn. Unbridled, probably racing in mid-pack up to this point, will launch his bid. And Silver Ending, probably near the back of the pack early, will also commence his bid. The two late-running sons of Pleasant Colony, Pleasant Tap and Killer Diller, will also start to pick it up. There is more movement on the final turn than at any other point in the race. This is where the winning moves are made, like Ali Sheba's back in 1987. And this is the moment of truth for Puerto Rican wonder horse Mr. Frisky, his La Momenta de Verdad. How much pressure has he taken? How much more pressure can he take? Because Summer Squall will be coming to him, and powerful closers like Unbridled and Silver Ending will be in full stride. The stretch, of course, is a thrilling conclusion to the Kentucky Derby, but it is, in fact, almost anticlimactic. In the last 25 derbies, the winner has been in front 22 times by the time the field hit mid-stretch at the 8th pole. And it is in that stretch here at Churchill Downs where generations of breeding and months of preparation and those few key seconds on the first turn that could make the difference between a Derby winner and a Derby runner-up. Chris?
Thank you, Tom, and we come back. We're just about 5 minutes right now to post for the running of the Brown and Williamson, our second live race on our Derby Day special on ESPN.
You know, a big problem for contractors are holes like this. With ordinary spackling, you got to go back, sand, and repatch. Well, now, I use Red Devil one-time spackling. One time goes on easy and won't run, crack, or shrink. In 30 minutes, you can prime and paint even without sanding. That could save a full day. When you build what I build, it really adds up. Red Devil one-time spackling. Do it once, and it's done.
BF Goodrich TA tires perform like great athletic shoes. They grab. They dig. They give you control. BF Goodrich TA tires. BF Goodrich TA tires, the athletic shoes for your car. BF Goodrich TA tires.
A little brains, a little luck, and a lot of late nights. A good family, a good spot, and some good advice. That's the way it's supposed to be. USF&G is standing behind me. That's the way it's supposed to be. And USF&G is standing behind me. The Silks say bullseye. Overbrook Farm. Angel Cordero's wearing them, riding Land Rush for Wayne Lucas. Does he have his eye on the target?
I think so. I think Wayne got the eyes on the target, and he's got a very good chance with Land Rush.
It appears, we all know derbies are seldom won by one-pace horses that have to come from way out of it. It appears he might be that kind of horse, but can you shake him up in any way that will get him perhaps into contention earlier than he usually is?
Well, he was in contention early when he won in the Bluegrass. He had to press the on pace, and he got beat by a good horse. And I expected him to be a better horse today, and I don't have to do what I did the other day. That's what I give him a good shot today.
Mr. Frisky and Summer Squall, the two favorites. your reading on them? If I wanted to make a friendly bet with you, which one would you favor?
Land Rush.
I knew you'd back out of that one. You know, talking to Angel on Derby Day, I can't resist always remembering what many people, including me, consider perhaps the greatest ride in modern times in the Kentucky Derby was in the Centennial version on Cannonade, when beer cans were flying out and hitting horses, and just a crazy day, and you weaved up between there. Do you remember that with a particular fondness?
I remember like it happened yesterday. It's a very memorable race in my mind, and I was very happy to accomplish that.
Thanks very much for stopping by, Angel. Back to you, Chris.
Angel Cordero Jr. with 15 mounts he's had in the Kentucky Derby. He's won it 3 times. 1974 Cannonade, 1976 Bull Ruler, and 1985 one of Pete Axholm's favorites, Spend a Buck. Well, lightning crackling are overhead and some thunder here as well at Churchill Downs. We'll update you now on the odds. For the Brown and Williamson, we're 2 minutes from the post. Banbury Fair at 9-1. Lady Houlihan at 25-1. Motion Limity at 9. Coke's Chelsea 40-1. Fit for a Queen is at 9-2 right now. 7-2 is Lost Load. Medicine Woman is 3-2. The choice right now here at Churchill Downs, Hasty Pasty 6-1. Gallant Rider 40-1. The umbrellas come up at Churchill Downs as we go to Tom Durkin.
Well, the horse I think will win the race is number 5, Fit for a Queen. But number 8, Hasty Pasty, is a personal favorite of mine. While we were at Hot Springs, Arkansas for the Oaklawn Handicap, and then a week later the Arkansas Derby, I took a job with trainer Jack Vanberg as a hot walker. And one of the horses that I walked around that shed row time and time again was good old Hasty Pasty. They let me handle her because she was a little bit easier to handle than some of the other horses. So at odds right now of 6-1, a sentimental favorite, and I'd like to see her win. Chris?
All right, thank you, Tom. As they go behind the gate there, we're going to go down to get the selection from Pete Axholm on the Brown and Williamson. Who's the winner, Pete?
Chris, I know I'm very happy that Tom Durkin found some horse gentle enough for him to handle, but I think Hasty Pasty will be too gentle today for Lost Load. Lost Load, speed kills, will go all the way. This is a very fast individual. Chris?
We have some short prices in this one right now at 3-2. Medicine Women on the board is the favorite. The 7-horse Pat Day riding. Pat Day has already won one on this day. He won 4 in a row yesterday, and this week became the all-time winningest rider at Churchill Downs. You take a look at the stakes and the track record. 121-1 Rapid Gray, 1985. That again at 7 furlongs here. Riders, of course, getting their goggles adjusted. They're going to carry probably 3 or 4 pairs today with the muddy track. Remember, in our last 7 furlong event, we had a horse come from behind and on the rail to win it. Some things to watch for there is this field of 9 is loading up in the gate, and as quick as this man throws that gate open, we better get over to Tom Durkin right now for the Brown and Williamson.
Good old quick draw Wagner. When they put him in the starting gate for the Kentucky Derby, they are off in a big hurry. Number 9, Gallant Rider, coming into the starting gate. And she will be the last to load in this field of 9 fillies and mares. Going 7 furlongs, ready to go, and they're off. Hasty Pasty comes away running for the lead. Lost Load with good early speed is right there. Medicine Woman, the favorite, is up close in between horses now. Motion and Limity is right there. And Fit for a Queen's moving through quickly in between horses now. Coke's Chelsea is up close to the early pace. Just 2.5 lengths off the lead in between horses. A gap of 4 back to Banbury Fair, who's trying to settle into this racing surface now. And another 2-length margin back to Gallant Rider. And the trailer outrun early is Lady Houlihan as the field heads for the far turn. Lost Load on top now, in front by 2 lengths. The opening quarter went in 23 seconds flat. Medicine Woman is chasing second. Fit for a Queen is ranging up now on the outside and toward the inside. Motion and Limity is trying to get close as Lost Load draws off now to a 2.5 length lead. Motion and Limity and Medicine Woman both giving chase. Hasty Pasty moving into contention now, racing in 4th position. Fit for a Queen on the outside is now racing in 5th. And now Banbury Fair has found her best stride, but she's still 6 lengths off the lead of Lost Load, who turns for home on top by 3. Kenta Somo going to work on her. She's responding and now leads by 3 for the final furlong. Medicine Woman with one last runner on the outside. Hasty Pasty is now 3rd. Gallant Rider with the late run on the outside. They're a 16th from home. Lost Load still there. Medicine Woman with one last run. Here's the wire, and it looked like Medicine Woman got there in the last stride. Very close. Lost Load was right there, it looked like Medicine Woman was beaten 50 yards from the wire, but put in a great late burst of speed. The final time here, 1:23 and 2/5 seconds. Chris?
Oh, Tom, we're going to have to ask for the CPR team to go to the paddock immediately. Pete Axholm has just fallen over down there as his selection just got nipped at the wire, it looked like, by the unofficial winner, Medicine Woman. Been very consistent mare, a 5-year-old, and 9 starts. Been on in the money 3 different times here with 6 first, a second, and a third. Medicine Woman, let's take another look as he rushes for the wire. This is Axe's choice. Lost load on the inside, and you lost, Pete.
Nothing beats it. The one and only. The clean, the crisp, the cold. The king of beers.
Nothing beats the bud. Nothing beats the king of beers. Nothing beats the Budweiser. Nothing beats the bud.
The Claiborne Stallions, for more than a century, producing the thrill of victory in thoroughbred racing.
From the Far East to Europe. Across the Caribbean and throughout North America, only one airline covers so much of the world with so much warmth.
The $300,000 Ohio Derby, a racing tradition since 1876. The 56th renewal will be contested June 16th at Thistledown. Winners of this Grade 2 event include King Glorious, Lost Code, and Broad Brush. Come join the Ohio Derby's winning tradition. Nominations close May 19th.
Back at Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. Glad you've invited us to your Derby Day party on ESPN. Our special Derby Day brought to you by Delta Airlines. At Delta, we love to fly, and it shows. By Keeneland, source of the classic horse. The Breeders' Cup, racing's $10 million championship. 3 chimneys, the idea is excellent. And by the Thoroughbred Racing Association, assuring the highest racing standards. And Pat Day, heading to the winner's circle, as Pat Day hopes he will be, for the 8th race with Summer Squall. Unofficial for the Brown and Williamson now. Medicine Woman jumping up on the outside in the last moments there with Pat Day riding. The unofficial winner, 1:23.3 for the 7 furlongs, getting a little slower in the last race. Lost Load second, Gallant Rider third. We'll take a closer look now at this Brown and Williamson. A great finish, Tom.
And Lost Load is in front, going an opening half in 46 3/5 seconds. Medicine Woman with Pat Day aboard. And as they came down the stretch, it was a typical Pat Day cardiac finish, waiting till the last possible moment to win the race. He's won more races than any other jockey in the history of Churchill Downs. He did that by winning just the other day, surpassing Don Brumfield. Looks like this horse is beaten at this point 3 lengths, and when she changes leads, coming down to the finish here, having a little difficulty doing it, and changes leads, and bingo, right there in the final stride. Pat Day gets it, and there he is aboard the winner, Medicine Woman, coming from off the pace, as is his fashion. He won 5 races in a row on Derby Day last year, but he lost the big one, of course, with Easy Goer. Chris?
While they're making the presentation, before we come back to make the race official, let's go to the paddock and Pete Axholm, see if Pete's got himself revived now.
Chris, I want to do my Nicky Zito voice one more time. he could have taken any rider to ride 36 Red. Stuck with you, Mike Smith. Your feelings about it?
I tell you, I really feel good about it. This horse has a legitimate shot. I mean, the last 2 races he ran were really good races, you know, and he's peaking at the right moment, and he's already carried 126 and everything. I mean, everything's going his way. You know, I look for him to run real good.
When he first flashed his most brilliant form in the Gotham, the early pace was so fast. Were you worried that he might be just a speedball that would get tired?
I tell you, I was worried because I knew we were going fast, you know, but he seemed to be doing it so easy. You know, like, it wasn't taking nothing out of him. And when about the 3/8 pole, when I called on him, I mean, he just picked up the bridle and really went. I said, wow, this was unbelievable. And then he just kept running, never had no quit in him at all. And wind up beating him a couple of lengths, you know, but beat him pretty handy.
Let's talk about the Wood, his last prep for the Derby. A tough 3-horse battle, and you were between horses. And a lot of times, in my experience, horses that are between 2 other good horses tend to take the worst of it. And yet he seemed to be extremely, he was obviously extremely game.
You know, being in between him just got him madder. I mean, the closer they'd get to him, the madder he'd get. Boy, he just refused to let him by him, you know. And what I really liked about that race is he went from 112 in the Gotham to 126 and carried the weight just really well.
Thanks very much, Mike. But if you don't win this, I may be pretty mad at you. Back to you, Chris.
All right, Axe, you see some of the folks in the infield here, and many hopefully heading to the windows to cash in on Medicine Women. $5, $3.20, and $3. Medicine Women paid. Lost load, $4, $3.80. Gallon Riders, $7.60. The exacta for the Brown and Williamson, $7.6, pays $17.80. Let's pick up the rest of the finishers now. Hasty Pasty. Apparently not well handled in the barns as far as any hot walking goes by Tom Durkin. Finishes 4th. Lady Houlihan was 5th. Motion and Limine was 6th. Banbury Fair 7th. Coax Chelsea was 8th. And Fit for the Queen 9th. When we return, we're going to take a close look at the Derby favorites. Meanwhile, you can't get a ticket on the other side of Central Avenue. These folks have themselves a balcony view of the Kentucky Derby.
And who play NBA basketball. They are the best in the world. They can do what no one else can. And now you can watch them do it all as Sports Illustrated Video presents the official NBA Video Collector Series, an exclusive collection now available for the first time on video. Call now and start the excitement with great moments in the NBA for only $9.95. It's a sensational show of last-minute heroics from the most memorable games in NBA history.
Now there's a steal by Burr. Underneath the DJ.
Keep it, and an additional NBA video will follow about every month. Keep only the ones you want. And you'll also get the high-flying video, the NBA's all-new dazzling dunks and basketball bloopers free with your payment. It's new, it's fabulous, it's funny, and it's free. Don't miss it. Call now and get your free Dunks video. And start your great NBA Video Collector Series from Sports Illustrated Video.
Call 1-800-435-1190 or write Dunks at this address. Have your credit card handy.
For more than 4 decades, the Keeneland Thoroughbred Sales have produced a parade of classic winners, including 39 American champions. Horses purchased at Keeneland have won all of the classic races worldwide and the richest prizes in thoroughbred racing. 1988 champions Winning Colors, Risen Star, and Ali Sheba all were bought at the Keeneland Sales in Lexington, Kentucky, source of the classic horse.
Eclipse-winning Northridge Farm, the leading breeder in 1989, will offer its Central Kentucky property and its bloodstock by sealed bid on May 9th. Northridge is selling racehorses, shares in several stallions, yearlings, and more than 60 broodmares. Northridge property includes over 1,100 picturesque acres. The farm's residences and its facilities are world-class, including the magnificent stallion complex. For bid specifications on Northridge Farm, call area code 612-546-6943.
Live, high-speed excitement that drives fans wild. The Indy 500 time trials. 97 entries, battling for 33 starting positions. And only speed will set them apart.
And it's a new track record.
The thrills of Indy, Sunday, May 13th, live on ESPN.
Just one of the many thousands of lovely ladies here at Churchill Downs and her Derby finery. I wonder who she likes. Summer Squall, Mr. Frisky? Well, who knows? Those are the two horses that seem to have the attention of most of the horse players here at Churchill Downs this afternoon. They've also had the attention of the media as well. Let's take a look at the tale of these two favorites as told by Chris Lincoln.
There's no doubt who's in the Derby spotlight in 1990. Just follow the maddening media mob. You'll find yourself at the barns of the two Derby favorites, Summer Squall and Mr. Frisky, who between the two of them have won 23 of 24 races. For W. Cothran Cott Campbell of Dogwood Stable, the man who since 1977 has been putting together partnership syndicates with racehorses, he reflected on his first Derby week as an owner with his 28 partners.
Well, it's very exciting in a somewhat stressful way. I wake up about 2 o'clock every morning and stare at the ceiling till about 4 and run the race 15 times. But it's a great experience. Churchill Downs people have been wonderful to us, and it's the thrill of a lifetime. This is the scenario that you would write. This is where you want to be with in Louisville for the Derby with one of the Derby favorites.
Here is the Derby favorite on the morning line, Summer Squall. And here's why his 41-year-old trainer, Neil Howard, a resident of Louisville, with his first Derby starter, likes this colt.
I'd like to think that he's got some class. And I know that's a word that sometimes gets thrown around a little loosely. But he's just a very honest little colt, gives 100% every time. And I think, you know, every time I look back to the hopeful, that's when I say to myself that, you know, that he's got to be a decent horse. So I think that just his attitude, his will, basically.
Breeder Will Parrish of Lane's Inn Farm looks to Summer Squall's regal bloodline.
He's a product of the Northern Dancer Secretariat cross, and that cross is just becoming more and more significant in our breeding, and it seems like if you have a good Secretariat mare breeder to a son of Northern Dancer, you've got a great chance, a very great chance of getting a good runner. And it's also terrific to see Secretariat, who was such a great horse, coming on as a great broodmare sire.
Summer Squall's rider, Pat Day, has been second in the last two Derbies. Talked about the differences in his favorite this year compared to the 89 pick, Easy Goer.
Well, he's a little more agile, a little more versatile, I think, in that you can place him a little easier, possibly. And he's shown a tremendous amount of courage under fire, Chris. His race in the Hopeful last year was just awesome. We got bumped and pushed around pretty good, and whereas most horses would have give up and backed out of there, he just, you know, pinned his ears and continued to persevere until he got through, and then flipped his ears up as if to say, wow, that's fun, let's do it again. So, I mean, he's got an extra special quality about him that you don't find in very many horses, and that is the amount of courage and intestinal fortitude that he's shown.
Summer Squall and the rest of this 1990 Derby field face perfection, though, in the undefeated 16 for 16 Mr. Frisky. Bred in Florida, he came to the attention of Hall of Fame trainer Laz Barrera after 13 straight wins at El Comandante Racetrack in Puerto Rico. His 3 starts in the USA at Santa Anita have seen him win by a combined total of 8 lengths, highlighted by his triumph in the Santa Anita Derby.
Nobody beat him so far, and to beat him had to be a running horse. I don't wish to be on the other side try to catch on this horse.
For the 65-year-old Barrera, 2-time winner of the Derby with Bull Forbes in 1976, and his Triple Crown champion affirmed in 1978, this colt has really been fun for him.
Yeah, he's a pet. He is a horse that never do anything to hurt you. He likes to kiss you. He likes to do a lot of things, and he's very hungry all the time and sleepy. He sleep and eat, that's only he do, and go to train, and then it's what is so smart, because he give everything that he got in this afternoon.
And for Laz, who has come back from the physical strain of heart surgery and the mental anguish of defending his reputation against unfounded accusations that his stable had drugged a horse in a race in California, this has been sweet revenge.
That horse bring me a look like when you have a bad dinner, but you got a good dessert. And that's what amount to me after I went through my problems. Now the horse bringing me one of the delicious desserts I can have.
And since Laz has won the big race twice, is it getting any easier to handle the pressures of the Derby?
No, getting tougher, especially when you're getting older. When you're young, you can take a lot of punishment. Now that you're a little older, you can't take so much punishment.
And look how tough the Derby can be on a first-time owner. That's Summer Squall's Cotton Campbell behind that mask. But Pat Day sums up the feeling of everyone in today's 116th Run for the Roses.
Certainly, it would mean a lot to me. I would be very, very honored to have won the Kentucky Derby, and it would be nice to meet people in the course of my travels. Immediately upon finding out that I'm involved in thoroughbred racing, they asked me if I've ever won a Kentucky Derby, and I look forward to the time when I can say, yeah, 1990, Summer Squall.
And live at Churchill Downs, let's bring you an update now on the odds here from the 116th Kentucky Derby, and Tom, not a lot of change.
Lots of big prices there. Mr. Frisky is at 2-1. He is the actual favorite. He will share favoritism at this point in the day with his rival Summer Squall. Pretty short price there on 36 red. A little shorter than I thought he'd be. Summer Squall vying with favoritism with Mr. Frisky.
But right now, Mr. Frisky has moved in front for the betting crowd here by just about $12,000, they tell us, in the mutual pool. We'll be right back with more from Churchill Downs.
People at Best Western tell me they're remodeling hundreds of their hotels. When I was remodeling my house, I became like a real general contractor. First week, I didn't show up. Now Best Western is updating lobbies, restaurants, rooms, everything, all without disturbing their guests.
At Best Western, you'll notice the changes, but not the changing.
To tell you the truth, I don't see how they do it.
Bonnie's smoke signals let everyone know when she's cooking outdoors. Well, I don't have to flip my lid to watch what I'm cooking through the big window on my charbroil gas grill. Someday Bonnie will catch on to charbroil. When Mark cooks outdoors, his grilling can be pretty thrilling. But you can keep the flare-ups out and let the flavor in with the one and only Flare Fighter gas grill. Someday Mark will catch on to charbroil.
This even flow kink-free hose from Colorite Waterworks. Somebody's finally come up with a hose where the water always flows. And there's no dribble when the hose is twisted on a hanger or a reel. No trickles when the hose gets caught going around a corner. Just an even flow of water, always. Prove it to yourself. Try this. Even flow garden hose is guaranteed to stay kink-free and the water always flows. Even flow kink-free hose from Colorite Waterworks at better lawn and garden departments everywhere.
The 1990 Cadillac Eldorado. With its new, more powerful V8 engine, electronic level control, available touring suspension, and anti-lock brakes, Eldorado is the car that gives you more power to express yourself.
Now, with a $2,000 cash bonus direct from Cadillac.
In my continuing search through the world of sports here at the Derby, I've come up with the world's best quarterback. Well, the world's best left-handed quarterback. Boomer Esiason from the Bengals. And what's your opinion of Derby Day?
Well, first of all, I think it's great. People down here in Louisville really do a nice job in terms of opening their arms for all us foreigners, so to speak. But I am from Cincinnati, just a little bit up north. But I think it's been a lot of fun thus far.
You've come so close in the Super Bowl, losing by 4 points to the Niners. Would you equate that with what somebody would feel if they had a horse get beat in nose in the Derby?
Oh, I'll tell you, it would probably be worse, because this is the fastest and most exciting 2 minutes in sports, other than our 2-minute drill in Cincinnati, of course. But I think that, you know, the excitement of owning a horse here and being around the horse people and seeing the 120,000 plus people that are here is just, it's truly amazing.
We do have a lot of rivalries, friendly and otherwise, in racing, but probably nothing could compare with the AFC Central Division. You never know who's going to shake each other's hand or insult each other's city or whatever. Is that fun?
Well, I think it's great. I think that's what makes it for an exciting finish to always an eventful year in the AFC Central. And quite frankly, we don't like each other very much. And the thing about it is we all have to stick together somehow. But the folks around Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Houston, not so bad, but they're not like the folks in Cincinnati.
You going to miss Jerry Glanville?
No, but the honest thing is we have to play him twice this year. Once in preseason, and we got to play him on Sunday night. I think it might be on ESPN, so we're going to see him twice anyway this year. So,
finally, a fashion note, Chris, before we go to you. You designed a T-shirt when I was having some disputes with the Bengals. What was it?
Well, Axe, first of all, I hope that you can pick horses better than you can pick football teams, because the year that we went to the Super Bowl, you said we weren't going to win anything that year, and that our coach was going to be fired. But I did design a T-shirt that said Axe the Axe. Nothing personal, you see.
Nothing personal. Well, you can believe that if you want, Chris.
All I know is, Boomer, you can sell a bunch of those T-shirts right here with our television truck. Just meet us after the telecast here. Well, let's get ready now to take you inside the Daily Racing Form for a closer look at the field for the 116th Kentucky Derby and some of the favorites with Joe Hirsch, the executive columnist, and also very proud, I know, Joe, of your special edition.
Absolutely, Chris. The Derby Day edition is always special. It contains articles, features on every contestant, their owners, trainers, and jockeys, and many other interesting aspects of the Derby. We're very proud of this edition, and we think this one is one of the best. As for the Derby, it's one of the best too. I think you're going to have one of the most competitive Derbies we've seen in several years. Of course, the two stars of the Derby are Mr. Frisky, who's never been beaten, and Summer Squall has only been beaten once. And I fully expect them to have a great deal to say about the outcome of the Derby, both of them. Mr. Frisky has the better of the two post positions. But there are several others in the field who deserve consideration. And I think Unbridled is one horse that hasn't received nearly as much publicity as he should have. He's trained beautifully. He's a true distance horse in every appearance. I think he's going to have a lot to say about this Derby. Pleasant Tap is training well. Appears to be coming up to the Derby very nicely. Video Ranger is a horse not many have mentioned. He was second to Mr. Frisky in California. If Mr. Frisky is one of the horses to beat, then Video Ranger deserves consideration. And I also think I would take a look as a possible long shot at the Frankel twosome. Burning Hills, and Pendleton Ridge. Pendleton Ridge is a maiden, and there's the intriguing thought that this might be the first Derby since 1933 that's won by a maiden. This horse finished very strongly in the Wood Memorial, and might just do it again today.
All right, and thank you, Joe Hirsch, and the Swinging Daily Racing Form, America's Turf Authority, all their help with their charts and statistics here. As you look at the infield area at Churchill Downs, we're set for the race before the Kentucky Derby, the 7th race on the program, and it is the Capital Holding. 1987 has been renamed for this fine corporate sponsor. It used to be the Twin Spires. 1990 Capital Holding Mile is making some Derby Day history here, Tom Durkin. It is the first ever held on the turf on Derby Day. 50,000 added, 1 mile on the turf that is listed as yielding today. Fillies and mares 3 and up, and a short field running.
Well, they've been running on the dirt here at Churchill Downs for 116 years. First time on Derby Day, though, that they'll be running on the grass. Number 1, Bangkok Lady, was scratched out of the race. Number 2 will be Whitesburg Express at 10-1 with Tony D'Amico. Number 3, Barely Cooking with local rider Mike McDowell, a long price here. King and Mike Bryan will also be a big price. Foresta, Angel Cordero at 4-1, and Sorrow Sprig will be a big favorite here. Foresta is a daughter of Alidar, by the way. Sorrow Sprig will be a big favorite here, and figures on all sorts of angles, and will be a very short price this afternoon. Chris, at odds of 3-5. No show wagering on this race. There's just 5 going to the gate.
All right, and we'll be back to take a closer look at this very interesting field for the Capital Holding, and more features on Derby Day, our special on ESPN. Stay with us.
For the jockey, as one race finishes, the next begins. His business is winning. His preparation, deliberate. But the key to winning is teamwork. The jockey and the thoroughbred. The best team in sports.
A California celebration. The inaugural California Cup. 7 stakes events exclusively for California breds. More than $1 million in purses. California Cup, this fall, Saturday, November 3rd.
all ours.
Going into business, got something new. Gonna face it down, red, white, and blue. I'm coming through this.
Nice place. How about some customers?
Ladies' night.
Great place, guys. Who did your decorating?
At Three Chimneys Farm, every day is race day.
By 2.5.
The farm, Three Chimneys. The idea is excellence.
A little over an hour and a half away now from the running of the Kentucky Derby, coming up at 5:32 Eastern Time on ABC Sports, following our ESPN Derby Day special for you, and getting ready for our last race, which, of course, will be the Capitol Holding. Before we get to that, though, well, our friend Pete Axel was found, an old friend of his, to talk about his Derby horses. And let's join Pete as he talked earlier with Bobby Frankel.
Bobby Frankel and I have been handicapping horses sometimes together over several decades, and we subscribe to many of the same theories. One comes to mind as trip handicapping, and if you use that, it appears that Burnt Hills has a shot here.
Well, Burnt Hills is outside all his speed, and that's an advantage because he can see what everybody else is doing inside of him. If you have a speed horse and there's a lot of speed in the race, you'd always want to be outside of the other speed.
And also in the Wood Memorial, which 36 Red was so impressive, but Burnt Hills was down on the rail on a day that the rail was not good.
Yes, the rail, nobody won on the rail that day. Everybody was coming off the rail, and he ran rail game on the rail when I don't think it was the best part of the race.
Mike Battaglia, the morning line maker, has made Summer Squall and Mr. Frisky much shorter prices than the rest of the field. You agree?
Well, I make Mr. Frisky favorite. I'd make him 9-5, but I make Summer Squall somewhere around 3-1. I really don't like Summer Squall too much in this race. He's had perfect trips on the inside. Today he's going to break from the outside, and he's not going to go into the first turn under wraps this day. He's going to have to use him a little bit.
Well, you have been criticized in some circles, and you often have deserved criticism over the years. I mean, what's gotten into your head running a maiden in this race?
Well, the maidens run real well. If he didn't run so well in the wood, I wouldn't be in this race. But he was closing ground. He got tired in the race, and he still finished good. And about 20 yards after the while, he galloped out past the field. So there's only one Kentucky Derby, and I'm going to take a shot with him.
You were saying yesterday morning that maybe you would have liked it if they would have run it a couple of weeks later. Rephrase that for our audience.
All right, you know, it would be nice if I could have had May 31st to run this race. I could have broke his maiden and maybe won a stake with him and had him a little more experience, but they're not waiting for me. So I got to go with the Derby. It's on May 5th, and I got to run on May 5th.
All right, Ax and Bobby, I'm sorry, that's the way it is. The first Saturday in May, where it's always, of course, beautiful and warm. And no, it's cold here at the Kentucky Derby. Well, this Derby is going to be simulcast to more than 200 outlets across the nation. More than $40 million is going to be bet, they say, around the world on the Kentucky Derby. Well, we want to check in on the action again live from Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. Our friend Ralph Sirocco out there. And, Ralph, I wish you were here. I wish I was at Caesars.
Well, Chris, let me tell you something, my man. I wish we were outside in this weather rather than being inside, and I wish you were inside rather than being out there. It is perfect Derby weather here, and this is a Kentucky Derby party atmosphere for sure. I'm not quite sure that Caesars Palace hasn't sprung a couple of spires outside. They're really partying here, and with me, of course, Lou D'Amico, the race and sportsbook director for Caesars Palace. And the Kentucky Derby is a big event, no doubt about it, but this one is a good betting event as well. Here at Caesars Palace, regardless of what's going on at Churchill Downs or around the country, who is the favorite among the people betting here, Lou?
People are betting, Ralph, right now, Mr. Frisky, who is an overwhelming favorite here at Caesars Palace. And surprisingly enough, Silver Ending is second choice in the betting, with Summer Squall third right now. So Mr. Frisky is a very, very big, overwhelming favorite over the entire field, with Silver Ending a second choice right now.
Now, could that possibly be because of the regional area that we're in, as far as a lot of people coming here from Southern California, because Silver Ending had been running out there?
Oh, you're absolutely right, Ralph. You know, Mr. Frisky running in California 3 races and looking very, very impressive.
And us, of course, being so close to Southern California, we're getting an awful lot of people coming from California to Las Vegas and, of course, to Caesar's Palace to bet on Mr. Frisky.
Where's the summer squall money, though?
Well, I think a lot of people feel that the Jim Beam may have taken a lot out of that horse, you know, Summer Squall, and a lot of people feel that Pat Day is yet to win a Kentucky Derby, so Mr. Frisky is the favorite.
Okay, now, about the Kentucky Derby Future Book, the horse that moved the most in action from the start of your Future Book to today.
Okay, that would have to be the Wood Memorial winner, Ralph, 36 Red, which we opened up at 125 to 1 and did close at 30 to 1 in the Future Book. So 36 Red, a lot of people believe in him, and I know there'll be a lot of people cheering for him.
Okay, well, somebody out there wants 36 Red at 125 to 1 to really win bad. And I just don't know who I'd like to in the Derby, except it will be a good race. And that's it from here, Chris. I'm getting a mint julep.
All right, Ralph, very good. All my best to do with Caesars. Thank you very much. Ralph Sirocco. And looked warmer there at Caesars, didn't it? The Palace, I'm sure they're getting ready in the big sports book there. Well, let's give you our odds now on our last live race here on Derby Day, and that is, of course, the Capitol Holding. Again, the first turf race ever run on Kentucky Derby Day at Churchill Downs. Bangkok Lady, the one was scratched. Whitesburg Express, barely cooking, are both at 10. Hing at 14. Forsythe is at 5 to 2, and Carroll's Brig is at 2 to 5. The strong favorites on the outside there. We'll be back in just a bit to take a closer look and run our Capitol Holding Mile. But first, while the Kentucky Derby is only once a year, for Thoroughbred, it's a chance that comes, of course, only once in a lifetime. But for racing fans everywhere, you can relive the great derbies of the past right here at Churchill Downs, the Kentucky Derby Museum that in 1990 celebrates its 5th birthday. The $7.5 million facility is open year-round. Special videos, memorabilia of the Derby. An award-winning computerized sight and sound extravaganza called The Greatest Race, a feature you won't want to miss. The Kentucky Derby Museum right here on the grounds of Churchill.
Listen carefully. This man is using an amazing electronic breakthrough that lets him hear a pin drop across the room. It's the Whisper 2000. Gives you the astonishing experience of super hearing. No more embarrassing complaints when you watch TV.
Can you turn that down?
With Whisper 2000, you don't have to turn up the volume. It's hard to hear in the backseat of the car. Now, sit back and talk comfortably.
Can you hear me back there?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Totally awesome.
Use Whisper 2000 in theaters. You'll hear every word clearly, comfortably. Similar devices sell for $60, but it's yours now for just $19.95. Here's how to order.
To order, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-776-5600 or send check or money order for $19.95 plus $4 shipping and handling to Whisper 2000, 1000 American Way, Roanoke, Virginia.
Cardiff Stud Farms, ideally located in Central California, is a magnificent full-service facility designed to accommodate every phase of thoroughbred development.
Watch them run. Let your spirit soar with the sound of the pounding hooves as they hit the ground, and let your heart race.
DeBartolo Racing, Louisiana Downs, Remington Park, and Thistledown, offering first-class racing and superior service.
Let your heart race.
DeBartolo Racing, building for the next century.
In a game which relies heavily on sound preparations, how and where you begin is vital for success. Walmack International is a consistent source for top thoroughbreds, a proven track record in breeding, sales, and stallion management. Walmack, winning the world over.
Can't be beat with baseball 4 nights a week. Major League under the lights, ESPN baseball tonight. Tuesday, Friday, doubleheader. Wednesday, nothing better. Catch it Sunday, watch the fun. Sunday night, home run.
The Yankees take on the Angels on Sunday Night Baseball, live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Baseball tonight.
And they're parading postward for the Capitol Holding for fillies and mares on the grass at 1 mile. And here's the lineup. Number 1 was scratched. Number 2 is Whitesburg Express. Has run only once on the grass and was second. She's been running in good form at Oaklawn Park on the main track there. There is no turf course at Oaklawn, and has this grassy opportunity this afternoon. Number 3, Barely Cooking, is a solid, if not a sensational stakes filly. This is her second start back after a layoff. Her seasonal debut wasn't much, though. She'll need to improve probably 15, maybe even 20 lengths to be a winner here this afternoon. Number 4, King, ridden by Michael Bryan, is a much better mare on the dirt, it seems. She's won 6 times on the dirt and has run only once on the turf. She won that race. She's won some minor stakes recently while sprinting. The surface and distance, however, make her a very risky prospect. And Forsythe, Cordero and Forsythe are a good team. He's won with her on several occasions. He'll keep her up close to the pace. Her first 2 outings this season were a little dull. She woke up last time, however, and will be getting a good deal of support at the windows today. Saros Brigg, and boy, oh boy, she looks absolutely a picture in this post parade. Forsythe, by the way, was a little anxious in the paddock, hard to saddle. Saros Brigg looks great on the track and looks great on paper. She has won 3 in a row, all of them graded stakes races, and for that reason, you've got to love her. However, her price is only a price a mother could love. She's 2-5 right now. Chris?
All right, there is the post parade for the Capital Holding Mile coming up on a turf that's listed as yielding today here at Churchill Downs. As the wind picks up and it has gotten colder. Remember, last year was an all-time record, 43 degrees at post time. They started the day here at 48 degrees. Well, so much being made of Mr. Frisky, the perfect colt, 16 for 16. The previous best records, Morbich was 11 straight wins coming here in the 1920s. Then it was Native Dancer coming here, 11 wins, and his only defeat was at the Kentucky Derby. But now the perfection of Mr. Frisky. And our look back feature is going to take a look at another perfect colt coming to the Kentucky Derby, one that will go on to make racing history.
This Claiborne Look Back is brought to you by Claiborne Farm, where for more than a century, a great record reflects our experience.
Seattle Slew, the undefeated juvenile champion, here in the number 4 post position. The odds-on choice for the 103rd Kentucky Derby. Broke slowly, left at the gate, but was right there when he needed to be as they turned for home, with Chick Anderson making the call of the 1977 Derby. Head of the stretch for the moment. Seattle Slew still battling it out together, and here's Run Dusty Run now closing ground and moving into 3rd. It's Seattle Slew, however, that takes it over at the head of the stretch. Seattle Slew moving away, now opens 2.5. Run Dusty Run driving up on the outside into 2nd. Steve's friend, here's Sanhedrin now closing also along the inside. Coming to the wire, Seattle Slew opens it to 4 lengths. At the finish, it's going to be Seattle Slew, and he's going along easily. He wins it by about 2 lengths. Seattle Slew would go on to become racing's only undefeated Triple Crown winner. And Seattle Slew's daughter, Seaside Attraction, won the historic Kentucky Oaks here yesterday. Daughter Seattle Slew, bred by the Clays and Warner Jones here in Kentucky, trained by D. Wayne Lucas. That, of course, the Distaff Derby as it's known here. Well, that's the story as we're going to take a look at some of our horses now, Capital Holding Mile, and take a look also at the latest odds for our big race on the grass. But let's go down first to Pete Axel.
Thank you, Chris. I agree with Tom. Saros Briggs looks outstanding on the track and certainly looks outstanding on paper. That's why the horse is 2-5. But when you bet a 2-5 shot, always remember the story of the greedy bettor who says, what bank would pay you these dividends in just a few minutes? And the answer, as New York expert Harvey Pack told that guy, is, what bank makes you run around the block? I'm keeping my bankroll in my pocket for this one. Chris?
All right, very much. How about that? The axe is going to pass here on this race before the Kentucky Derby. We'll be back and getting close to running our Capital Holding Mile as the fillies head over to the grass course here at Churchill Downs.
That nobody knows. No matter what you do, no matter where you go, you've got to have an ace in the hole.
Bud Light proudly presents George Strait.
A national leader in California's best, Flying Paster. This multiple Grade 1 winner of over $1 million passes on his championship form. With just 5 crops to race, Flying Paster has sired racing stars like Elmdorf's homebred multiple stakes winner, Flying Continental, Harborview's homebred Endow, graded stakes winner of almost $500,000, and recent addition to the Cardiff Stallion roster, and Grade 1 stakes winning filly, Flying Julia. Flying Paster at Cardiff Stud Farms, California.
Thank you.
When Rich Little takes his show on the road, Thrifty is the rental car he puts it all in.
Hey, I save money and I get respect at Thrifty. Thrifty rates are guaranteed worldwide.
Enjoy luxury and savings. Rent a Chrysler New York or Landau with unlimited mileage. Just $37.95 a day. 48-hour advance reservation required.
That's the way it is. Thrifty, lot of car rental company.
For incredibly little. Call 1-800-4CARS.
The Eclipse-winning Northridge Farm, the leading breeder in 1989, will offer its Central Kentucky property and its bloodstock by sealed bid on May 9th. Northridge is selling racehorses, shares in several stallions, yearlings, and more than 60 broodmares. Northridge property includes over 1,100 picturesque acres. The farm's residences and its facilities are world-class, including the magnificent stallion complex. For bid specifications on Northridge Farm, call area code 612-546-6943.
Jamie Bruin, I know you're not nervous about the Derby because you did such a good job shaving. You only have blood all over your face.
Well, I'm excited about the Derby. I'm not really nervous, but excited to be here and glad to have the chance.
Riding for Barry Schwartz, Calvin Klein's partner, you think this will entitle you to a whole new wardrobe if you get lucky?
Well, I was kind of thinking that. I might give me about 500 pairs of jeans, maybe.
We've been talking with football players and so forth about rivalries. Interesting, you were riding against your wife, and I believe you claimed foul against her. The story.
We rode together for a couple years off and on when she wasn't having babies. And one time we was turning for home, and she hit her horse left-handed, and the horse ducked out into me, and I was outside her, and I almost clipped her heels and this and that, and had to check my horse, and she beat me a half length, and there was a Stewart's inquiry, and I claimed foul, and they took her number down and placed her second, put me up to win.
And that night, did your number come down?
No, she's pretty good.
Back to you, Chris.
All right, thank you, Pete. By the way, James Bruin is one of 4 rookie riders in our field of 15. Nick Santagata, Dr. Bobby A., Ron Hansen, Video Ranger, Shane Sellers, Fighting Fantasy, and James Bruin, Killer Diller. Most experienced, Lafitte Pinkai, is 17th Derby mount. Let's go to Tom Durkin now as they're loading for the Capital Holding Mile on a yielding turf course.
And Forsythe moves in the starting gate nicely. One more to load, and that is Sorrow Sprig, who figures to go to the front. She has great, excellent early speed. They're in the gate, and they are off. Sorrow Sprig broke alertly on the outside. Hing is right there, and Hing has emerged with a short lead now. And Sorrow Sprig is coming right up after the lead now as they pass us for the first time. And then down inside, Whitesburg Express has been gathered back, taken under a hard hold in 3rd position. And they're letting Sorrow Sprig go on with it now. She's opened up an easy early lead. Hing is down inside, running along in 2nd. Whitesburg Express is 3rd. And then farther back, it's Forsythe. And Barely Cooking is allowed to trail early. She's about 7 lengths off the lead of Sorrow Sprig, who's rating on the lead and opens up here now by 3. And Hing is still under a firm hold in 2nd. Whitesburg Express has been taken to the outside now for clear running in 3rd. Forsythe is running along in 4th position, 5 lengths off the leader. And then farther back, Barely Cooking trails the field. The opening quarter went in 23 and 4/5 seconds. They've run a half in 47 seconds flat, and they have yet to reach Sorrow Sprig, who is still on an uncontested lead. And Forsythe is sent through an opening toward the inside now, and she's launching her bid. Cordero coming after Sorrow Sprig around the far turn, but Sorrow Sprig lets it out another notch and is now clear by 2 lengths. Forsythe giving chase in 2nd, and the others are far back as the field turns for home. Sorrow Sprig and Pat Bell goes to the whip now, and here on the outside comes Forsythe charging down the center of the course. Those 2 now for the final furlong. Sorrow Sprig desperately trying to hold on. Forsythe surges at the 8th pole to take the lead. It's Forsythe in front by a head. Sorrow Sprig bravely trying to fight back. Those 2 neither giving way. Forsythe, Sorrow Sprig, and it is Forsythe, Sorrow Sprig. Pat Valenzuela stood up in the irons as they came down to the wire. While it may have been a bit of grandstanding on his part, as it appeared that he may have been beaten by Forsythe as they came down to the finish. Well, at 2-5, it appears Saros Brigg has been defeated. But hold all tickets. We may see an inquiry here. Chris?
Been a big day for Arkansas's Loblolly stable with John Ed Anthony. Forsythe, the unofficial winner, the daughter of Aladar. A photo sign has gone up on the board. What a finish for the Capitol Holding Mile. First time it's been run on the turf. First grass race on Derby Day. And what an exciting one there. As you see the winner, Forsythe, pulling up there and looked, took a misstep there. We're going to take another look now at the Capitol Holding Mile. You see those Loblolly colors there worn by Forsythe. And Saros Brigg on the inside here, the 6-horse, ridden by Patrick Valenzuela. Forsythe is on the outside in the yellow and brown of Loblolly. Now take a look as Pat Valenzuela driving for the wire here, and you'll see him on this head-on shot here. Migos, he'll stand up on the irons here just as they're coming down into deep stretch. There you see, it looks like he almost lost his stirrup there. And there he stands up right there, then starts back down, but there's no chance there as they cross the wire with Forsythe. Looks like Pat had some problems with one of his stirrups on the outside. We have had a photo sign put up, but no inquiry or objection at this point. As they come galloping back, it is Forsythe, the unofficial winner, the 4-year-old daughter of Aladar, bred in Kentucky and owned by Loblolly Stables. Forsythe won 37-1. Saros Brigg was second, and barely cooking, running third. Angel Cordero Jr. coming back here on that race before the Derby. Forsythe beating the 2-5 favorite, Saros Brigg here. We'll come back and wait to make this one official. A very interesting wrap-up to our live race coverage before the Kentucky Derby, the 8th race.
A little brains, a little luck, and a lot of late nights. A good family, a good spot, and some good advice. That's the way it's supposed to be. And USF&G standing behind me. That's the way it's supposed to be. And USF&G standing behind me. The only way to travel is Cadillac style.
Cadillac Seville STS for 1990. The acceleration of a new, more powerful V8 engine will press you against ultra-soft leather, while its exclusive touring suspension and standard anti-lock brakes will convince you this is an international touring sedan with very powerful credentials.
Cadillac, Cadillac, Cadillac style.
Now, with a $2,000 cash bonus direct from Cadillac.
At Bic, we sympathize with the ways that you pull and stretch your face in search of a better shave. That's why we've created the Bic Metal Shaver. The patented Bic Metal stretches and smooths your skin thanks to its unique metal guard bar, so the shaver glides closely and comfortably. So instead of stretching, start reaching for a Bic Metal Shaver. It stretches your skin for a better shave, and that's no stretch.
This year, millions of people will use one car wax, Turtle Wax, the world's best-seller Turtle Wax. Revitalizing, age-defying, bring the shine back Turtle Wax. Safe for new cars, Turtle Wax. Hard shell finish Turtle Wax. None other than the easier-than-ever, long-lasting Turtle Wax. This is Turtle Wax. And that says it all.
Back live at Churchill Downs, as we suspected, the inquiry sign is now on the board, and it involves the winner, Forsythe, the 5-horse, and the 6-horse, Saros Brigg. As Forsythe, the daughter of Aladar, is being led back to the barn here. Angel Cordero's on the phone right now, explaining his situation to the stewards.
I didn't think we made any contact. I never felt any contact. Thank you, sir.
Angel Cordero saying, I never made any contact, talking about with Saros Brigg. We'll take another look, too. Tom Durkin, what did you think as the stewards look at the video as well?
Well, let's take a look. Saros Brigg on the inside and Forsythe on the outside. Cordero on Forsythe, Pat Val on the inside horse, Saros Brigg. Cordero may be guilty here of very good race riding. He's tightening it up a little bit there on Saros Brigg. Saros Brigg under a left-handed whip, and there you see Pat Valenzuela stand up in the irons. I would not take that number down, but then again, I'm not a steward. We'll take another look at it as they come from the 8th pole into the wire. We'll take a look at the pan shot here. Here's Cordero. He's sticking right-handed, tightening it up a little bit on Saros Briggs. This is what Cordero did on Land Rush in the Bluegrass Stakes to Summer Squall in Pat Day. Tried to tighten it up on him. Of course, Summer Squall went on to win it. And the number will not be taken down. The result stands official.
All right, Tom Durkin, an excellent race caller, not a bad steward as well. As Forsythe is now the official winner of the Capital Holding Mile. And as she heads back to the barn area now with that victory, we'll have some prices for you here in a moment as they have made it official here at Churchill Downs. Forsythe is coming off a race at Keeneland, finishing 4th on the turf there, and did a nice job with Angel Cordero Jr. getting a lot of credit for that ride. The official prices now of the Capital Holding Mile. As I say, it's the race, of course, before the Kentucky Derby here. $7, $2.60, no show wagering with a short field here. And then it was the favorite 2-5 Saros Briggs, returning just $2.20. Again, no show wagering with a short field. Well, that wraps up the live race coverage. And now, of course, we're looking for, well, everybody's talking about not only the favorites here of Mr. Frisky and Summer Squall, we're talking about a long shot for the Kentucky Derby. Well, Pete Axel's nowhere to be found around the paddock. Where do you think he is? The betting windows.
Something about picking those big Bud long shot exactas that makes a guy's entire life pass before him. Takes you back to the traffic snarls of Queens, the roars of the subway, the mutual windows of Aqueduct, and of many places like it, including Churchill Downs. It sure takes me back there, and I know it takes Nick Zito. And today, it may take Nick's 36 Red to the winner's circle. Consider the key race theory. Everybody comes out of certain races flying. The Swale Stakes at Gulfstream was won, and 36 Red hasn't landed since. Maybe the Arkansas Derby is the same. Not because Silver Ending won in such a good time, but because he was the only horse in 2 weeks to win on the deep and sticky Oaklawn Park rail. 36 Red has the speed to stalk the front runners here. He has the pedigree to go a long way, and he has that racing muscle look. Silver Ending will be farther back, but among the closers, he has the burst of speed that wins derbies. Voila, the Bud long shot exacta. Bet 36 Red and Silver Ending to win. Then bet them up and down in your exactas. Then, well, retire to Spain if you want, but be sure to be back for the Preakness.
All right, well, Mac, those are his Derby Day thoughts as he wraps up his thoughts for the day. Now, are you agreeing with your old exacta buddy from the Gotham Stakes?
No, although it's pretty hard to get off a horse, 36 Red, that paid $67 for us just a couple weeks ago. I like a bomb here, Chris, and excuse me if I'm salivating, because I like a horse that's 40-1. His name is Pleasant Tap. I've had my eye on him since he was a 2-year-old. He was very impressive to me when he beat Grand Canyon last year. Been kind of a hard luck horse this year. The race is setting up well for a stretch runner. There's lots of speed in it. He is bred to run from here to Belmont Park, and I think he's going to make it as they come down that stretch here at Churchill Downs.
All right, Pleasant Tap, the pick for Tom Durkin. I'll give you a selection in just a moment. First, let's give you the update, what the people here think of our Kentucky Derby field, as you take a look at the odds for the 116th Derby. And let's see if we see much of a change here, Tom. Pendleton Ridge, Burn Hills, the Bobby Frankel at 30-1. Then the Dwayne Lucas entry that was so powerful yesterday in the Kentucky Oaks, finishing 1st and 3rd. 14-1 get you all three: Real Cash, Land Rush, and Power Lunch. Can you avoid a price like that on Dwayne?
Well, I thought he'd be a lot shorter with those 3 horses and with Cordero riding. Of course, Lucas always attracts a lot of attention at the windows, but not to be today. 14-1 for the price of 3. Power Lunch, though, is a toss as far as I'm concerned.
Killer Diller, Video Ranger, big prices at 50-1. And there is Mr. Frisky, the betting favorite, actual favorite here at Churchill Downs at 2-1, the undefeated. Fighting Fantasy at 99, Unbridled, the Florida Derby winner at 10-1. Pleasant Tap, there's Tom Durkin's bomb, as he says, and it is 40-1. Silver Ending at 6-1. The late closer, 36 Red, 9-2. The Axe puts on top of his exacta. Summer Squall at 2-1, but a slight second choice behind Mr. Frisky. Dr. Bobby at 80 to 1, and Country Day has been scratched earlier. And I am looking for Silver Ending to win this Kentucky Derby. I've got to tell you.
The Italians have a phrase about that. It's called El Boche del Morte.
What you mean?
The kiss of death.
Oh, God. That's because Andy Beyer also made that selection. That's what's scaring everybody. I tell you, I was out in California and stopped by that Cheyenne Supper Club restaurant of Angelo Costanza. He took me around, showed me pictures of great horses. He said, Chris, you'd recognize John Henry, Bayakoa, Ali Shiva. But here's the big horse, Silver Ending. And I thought, my gosh, this is typical first-time owner. But, Dirk, I remember I also thought that was kind of silly of Charlie Whittingham to think that Sunday Silence could beat the unbeatable Easy Goer. And before that, it was Winning Colors and David Lucas saying this filly can win. And I scoffed at Jack Van Berg, who told me a non-winner of 2, Ali Shiba, could win the 87 Derby. I'm going to listen this time. Silver Ending to win the Kentucky Derby.
All right, Chris. Well, you've been wrong before. And
does this sound convincing?
It sounded convincing enough, but I'm convinced at 40 to 1. We can all go home in a cab, Chris, if Pleasant Tap wins today.
Well, I'm sure you have all your picks out there. We want to thank you for making us part of your Derby Day 1990. And yes, the weather wasn't perfect, but it's still no better place to be on the first Saturday in May than here at Churchill Downs, no matter what the age. You have to be part of this and experience it and feel it just one time in your life. What it is to be here at the Kentucky Derby, the 116th running. And we hope you've enjoyed our Derby Day special here on ESPN. Coverage of our live races leading up to the Derby. And remember, our friends at ABC Sports are standing by to bring you the 116th Run for the Roses at 5:32 is post time. Our Kentucky Derby special on ESPN has been brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Thrifty Car Rental. Thrifty is a lot of car rental company for incredibly little. By DeBartolo Racing, leading the way to the 21st century. The Breeders' Cup, racing's $10 million championship. And by the Carter Stud Farm of California. Ground transportation provided by Thrifty Car Rental for reservations at over 700 locations worldwide. Call Thrifty at 1-800-4CARS. Travel consideration furnished by Delta Airlines. Delta has ranked first among all major U.S. airlines for 15 straight years. At Delta, we love to fly, and it shows. This has been an ESPN Sports presentation. Happy Derby Day.